Hey guys, Chris Superfast RC, and today we're doing the overview and unboxing of the RC8 B4e. The kit, finally got it in. I've been waiting patiently for, probably about 6 months since this thing's been released. And it's just been on back order, and the way everything's are going lately, it's hard getting stuff in, and I understand that from a manufacturer standpoint. Everything's delayed and, shipping is just atrocious right now, but finally, we got it in. Got it through a hookup with Team Associated, and they actually have them in stock on the site now. So if you want to go ahead and check that out, yeah, you can get them. And the parts are in stock for the most part. There's a few things that they're still kind of waiting on, but it is what it is. So, all right, guys, let's take a look at the kit. So I've kind of been with the RC8 since the beginning, and while I was waiting for this one, I was kind of like, looking at the X-rays and the Mugans and stuff. They're very similar platforms. This one is completely new. It's not based on the Mugen anymore like the B3 was. This is kind of Associated's own thing now, at least from what we're looking at with the chassis and everything. It's still a pivot ball car, but I mean, X-ray is a pivot ball car. The Durango was a pivot ball car. The list goes on and on. Arma's pivot ball. So that's not copying anybody. That is just, good performance. So this car is going to use out of the box. Let's go ahead and move on to the overview. So we're going to use 2 saddle packs. So you can use your 10th scale packs. We'll get into it a little bit about what kind of saddle packs you should use with the shorties. The motor is going to be rotation flipped from where it usually is on an A scale. Usually it's kind of facing towards the back. It's up towards the front. And they've got a whole new front end geometry from the B3 that is totally new. So, and just, stronger wing mount. That's another thing with the B3, especially the B3.2. The wing mount, at least the tall one, yet they break a lot. So this one's beefed up, and I believe it is the same height, as far as the tall downforce setting. So completely new arms, front and rear. There really isn't much that is compatible with the B3 structurally, but there are a little bit of odds and ends. I think the shock package is exactly the same as the B3. So if you've got a good package that you're running on your B3.2 and you want to just transfer that setup over to the B4, you can totally do that with weights and oils. So yeah, let's go and check this side of the box out, see what it looks like. So they show you a fully built out kit here, servo, everything. Yeah, so aluminum shock towers, and just a sweet kit. Here's what it looks like finished, and let's get into the box, shall we? If I can find my body scissors. Here we go. Factory team scissors. Factory seal. Pop. Pop. And 3. Okay. Here we go. I'll put this over here. So we've got our first bag on top is bag 9.1. Looks like this is going to be our motor mounts and center differential equipment right there. All right. Next box is bag 11.1. This is going to be our receiver case. Here's a wing, totally a different wing from the B3. It's a lot stronger, and it also has the kind of marked spots where you can drill holes to, tune your downforce a little bit. So that's really nice, and it also has a center, kind of a wing spar there that goes down the center here. Just kind of helps you track straight a little bit more. This is bag 7.2. Looks like we got a rear shock tower, pinion, C and D plates, and our rear arms. Very nice. And these are going to be the HD plastics by default on the B4. Don't have to worry about upgrading arms. This is bag 12.1. This is going to be our battery trays. And no, guys, this will not fit a standard 2S stick pack. You're going to have to use shorties. Just the way it is. Associated, did testing and tuning, and that they found that the 2 saddle pack shorties was the best configuration. at least with the factory team drivers and the success they were able to have with the platform. So, and it is a pretty successful platform so far, at least what I've seen. It's pretty sweet, guys. But yeah, you can also run one 4S shorty stick pack or a brick pack. It does allow for that. So, and also if you really want to run a 4S brick, you know, the big, not the shorty brick, the regular ebuggy style brick, you can. They have a Shapeways part you can get on Associated's website. It's a 3D printed battery tray, and I think you can actually get the schematics yourself. So if you want to print it out with your 3D printer, you can do that. But it's not really recommended as far as the weight balance and bias is concerned. So the most recommended configuration is going to be 2 shorty saddle packs. All right. Here we got our rear wing mount and differential cases. There we go. Definitely a beefed up wing mount compared to the B3. That is substantial, guys. Body, this is the Gamma body. So it's a little bit more squared off just to kind of facilitate the shorties in the back. Definitely a unique looking body, and I believe this is an Associated part. It's not made by Proline. Yeah, does not say any manufacturer specifically. So this is made by Associated, and it's definitely a lightweight body, so very nice. All right, this is bag 2.1. It's going to have our shocks, front and rear, titanium nitride coated shafts. It's got our bladders in there, and we'll talk a little bit more about that coming up. You got your pistons. I'm not actually going to end up using these pistons, but very nice to see that they've included a variety of piston sizes. So you got 8-hole and 6-hole, it looks like, pistons. So very nice and different sizes as well. Upgraded, what do they call it, shock keepers on the bottom. They're new parts for the B4, and they are definitely upgraded. They have a little screw that goes through there so that your shock bottom's not going to pop out and get lost during the race. So that's very nice. Springs included. Looks like we've got green rear. And let's see if I can see what the fronts are. We're not going to use these either, but and blue fronts. So very nice. Okay, bag 1.2. So 1.2, that means it's going to be one of the first steps, your differentials. So we've got our ring gears and pinions and spur gear in there. These are, I believe, 15 millimeter out drives all the way around. I'm actually probably going to go with 17 millimeter out drives up front, just to kind of keep the dog bone from popping out. That is something I have seen a lot of people have trouble with. So looks like we got our turnbuckles and rod ends right here. So very cool. They're the new gray Associated plastics. They've kind of been working that in over the years with the 10th scale, moving to that gray plastic, and now they're bringing it into the A scale. It's just a more durable, I guess, compound as far as the plastic is concerned. So yeah, and by the way, if you break apart on your B3.2, I believe these are the new part for the B3.2 as well. They did discontinue the black rod ends, so just a little bit of information for you. Bag 5.1, looks like we got our front suspension, front CVAs. Looks like our steering top plate, A and B blocks, our front skid plate. This looks like the suspension pins and front suspension arms. So there we go. That's 5.2, so that's kind of middle of the build. Here are the pivot balls and the hubs. Actually going to be using aluminum upper pivot balls. These are steel, all 4. So you don't have to have the aluminum ones. The steel ones work just fine. It just gets a little bit of unsprung weight off the top of the car, just to lower your center of gravity a little bit with the aluminum pivot balls. And a lot of guys just run them up top, like I said. That way you can save weight up top, not down low as much. You kind of want to keep that weight lower, so if you put steel on the bottom, you know, keeps it down low. But you can run all aluminum if you want. It just gets a little rid of some weight up front, so very cool upgrade. This is bag 4.1. Looks like we got our side guards here and our bell crank and servo saver assembly. Getting down to the bottom of the bag. Have our shock oils. What do they give you by default? We've got AE 40 weight, AE 10K, 5K, and 45 weight. So that actually is a good combination. From what I've been reading and what I've been talking to guys at the track, I've actually been talking to some of the associated team drivers, and yeah, it's a good combination. So I'm glad they included that with the kit, and our grease as well as in there. Okay, bag 10.1, servo horns. Pretty much useless. I mean, they might use a couple pieces out of there. The plastic ones, I mean, they might work, but probably if you're using a high-powered servo, you definitely want to use an aluminum horn. Looks like we got our rear hubs here. This is bag 8.1. We've got our hubs, CVAs, and 17 millimeter hexes. Promise we're getting close to the end. Looks like this is our front suspension. This is rear. This is going to be our rear diff case and mount or chassis brace. Bag 5.1. Sway bars. What size is this? This is a 2.4 bar. This can be in the rear. Bag 7.3, and our front bar is going to be a 2.2. Not a bad setup at all. That's actually a good starting point. And here finally we have our chassis, hard anodized, a little bit different than the B3. You have more kind of wings up front here for your droop adjustment. And of course, like I said, your motor is going to be up front on this car. So that's definitely there. Good stuff, as usual, from Associated. And finally, we have the manual, servo tape, antenna tube. Why they include that, I don't even know in this day and age. Most people aren't even using antenna receivers, even an A scale. At least I'm not. I haven't seen a problem with it. Let's go ahead and take a quick look at the manual here. We have our Associated B4e manual. And as always, we have our screw chart, bearing chart, kind of size things up with actual size pieces so you know what you're looking at. And it's typical Associated manual. It's well illustrated, and it's going to walk you through all the steps to get this car built the right way. It's got a couple pro tips in there. And if you're unsure, guys, I would recommend, if you're unsure about any part of your build on the B4, go online. There's a great group on Facebook called the RC8 B4 Nation. And there's lots of good stuff on there if y'all want to just go through and look at that. Yeah, and some of the factory guys are on there as well. TJ Eller is on there all the time. Kurt Wanger is on there all the time. And some of the other guys, Spencer Rifkin's even checking in sometimes. So it's good to see the factory guys. Man, I got stickers. Just got stuck to the bag. It's good to see the factory guys, you know, being part of the community and helping out. Don't give up on that. Okay, let's put all this back in the box, and we're going to talk a little bit about some not necessary upgrades, but kind of one of the what the factory guys are recommending you go to. And of course, we'll talk about batteries and stuff like that. So we've got a box of goodies here from Associated. So basically, if you're going to get the B4e and you're going to campaign it, I would highly recommend you get a set of front arms just in case you need them. After a race, you might break something. I have seen a B4 snap a front arm. It was a bad crash, guys. It wasn't like the car's fragile by any means, but it's always good to have at least a set of front arms in your pit box for any car you're in a campaign. Okay, so batteries. Like I said, this is a saddle pack shorty car. So Associated has it ready, has a an option ready for you right out of the gate. These are the Zappers SG5, 6400 milliamp hour, high voltage LiPo batteries. They're 90C and they have 5mm bullets on them. So plenty of current carrying capability for A scale. So I've got 2 of them here. I've actually got 4 of these. But this is a great option. ProTech also has great batteries. Like I said, you could use a 10th scale shorty for this, but you got to keep in mind, you got to make sure those capacities are going to be above 5,000, 5,500, and you'd have to have super high quality 4mm bullet connectors to make sure your car has the current that it needs. So you don't want to use anything cheap like a banana plug. All right, V2 springs. this is the rear blacks. This is what I've been running on my B3.2. Absolutely perfect suspension setup. Another recommended thing to have in your pit box is the V2 browns. They're a little bit lighter than the blacks, and you know, if you just need a little bit more traction, you can go to the browns and hopefully find what you're looking for with that. Front springs, V2 grays, and these are kind of hard to find, guys, but the V2 grays, I've been running them on my B3.2. No issues at all. These are the best option for your front spring, in my opinion. Okay, Reedy. These are the 5mm silver bullet. These are the grip bullets. So, I mean, you can see that they've kind of got a kind of like a grip on there, and just going to make getting that bullet in and out of the pack a lot easier. The packs do come with 5mm bullets in the box, so you don't have to have this, but it's just a kind of a convenience feature. Okay, these are the shock bladders. These are going to be helpful for running emulsion. They also sell some emulsions, shock seals. They're out of stock, guys. So what you can do is you can actually bend these over and cut it with a body scissor, cut the bladder out, and that'll work as a shock seal as well, since I'm going to be running emulsion on this setup. That's an X-ray part. That shouldn't be in there. Okay, one more part. This is highly recommended for low grip track. This is the narrow LRC C-mount. So this is just going to get that roll center down a little bit so you can have more traction in the rear. And like I said, that's actually a part for the RC8 B3.2. I actually run those on my B3.2. All right, we're getting into some Shell Racing parts. So if y'all don't know, Shell Racing makes parts for these cars, and a lot of the pro drivers are using them. So this is the Shell RC8 B4 carbon rear shock tower. So this thing is gonna get a little bit of weight off the back of the car and give you a little bit more flex, a little bit more traction in the rear. Just a cool kind of bling part to have too. These are the shock travel limiters, up travel limiters. These are from Shell as well, and these are just gonna kind of be a buffer for those emulsion setups, so you're not gonna slam that shaft into the top of the cap. These go on below, and they just kind of give you a little bit extra, you know, it's a jounce bumper, guys, and that's highly recommended from team drivers as well. Okay, pistons, these are from Shell. These are the Pro-Built 5-hole bevel set. This is for the RC8 B4 and the MBX8, and they have the notations for which ones they go. So we got the 14.55s and the 15.66s right there. So that's what I'll be running in my shocks. And lastly, I just didn't have a pair of shock shaft pliers, so I went ahead and picked up the Shell shock shaft pliers. So, okay, guys, this pretty much rounds off what I'm going to be building my B4e with. Just wanted to talk to you a little bit about it. I'll get these parts back off the table. If you have any questions about these parts, please feel free to ask me in the comments, and I'll be definitely happy to help. Like I said, a lot of those parts were from Shell Racing. All right, guys, so this is my B3.2. Been running it for over 2 years now. Had really good success with the car, and the B4 is just the next evolution of what Associate is doing with their A-scale platform. And from what I've seen on the track and, you know, in the media, all that, the B4 definitely got a leg up on the B3.2. B3.2 is still a great car. If you're getting into racing, this got me back into racing, and you know, I'm in the A mains now. I'm competing with top guys at the track, and the B3.2 is doing a great job with that. The B4 is just the next evolution, and we're gonna go faster, right? I hope so. Anyways, guys, just wanted to share that with you, and we're gonna wrap this thing up. We're gonna get building the B4e, but anyways, it's closed up. All right, guys, we're gonna get started on the build, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching this video. If you have any questions about anything I've mentioned, please ask me in the comments. All right, guys, we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.